Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2019, and I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, I want to talk about something, so let's open up the charts right here. A shorter of Bitcoin. Evidently, he picked a $20,000 top, and he shorted it all the way down. And, you know, man, he got lucky, didn't he? Let's just read a little bit of this. Just a sec, let me get the charts over here a little bit better. I'll pull off these ads. Okay, it says Bitcoin has seen quite a past 24 hours. The cryptocurrency saw two 8% moves in a single day yesterday. One to the upside, the other to the downside, then a 4% jump higher with a couple of minutes to put the cherry on the trading day. This daily move has largely been neutral, it says. Bitcoin ended the day effectively where it started. So I'm going to tell you, a lot of traders out there made a lot of money yesterday on these big moves. 8% moves. There's no other marketplace in the world where you can make that kind of see that kind of a moves up and down, and traders can really make out good on those large movements. It says here that the individual in question, the guy who shorted Bitcoin at 20,000, is a hedge fund manager and chartist. He famously shorted the $20,000 Bitcoin top and rode the short position as the cryptocurrency fell to 15,000, then to 12,000, then to 10,000, and lower and lower and lower until he ended the year just a smidgen above $3,000. He made the crypto short of the century. And then he closed his position 3 days after Bitcoin found its ultimate bottom. Boy, he played that right. I'm going to tell you, he played it really good. But I'm thinking he'd like to play that again. So he's saying right now, he remarked via Twitter that he expects the cryptocurrency to die a grinding death. That's what he expects. Punctuated by spasms of decreasing frequency and intensity. I think he wants to play this whole thing again and do his maneuver all over again and short the thing out, But, why would Bitcoin die? What's going to make it disappear? What's going to make it completely go and disappear from everything, and now that it's here? The central banks, they realize that this is a new, innovative technology, and they're trying to imitate it. Every central bank on earth is trying to imitate this technology right now. We got the Chinese right now releasing their own digital blockchain technology type coin. We've got France right now. They're producing their own version. The Japanese have already worked on it. America, the Federal Reserve, is actually working on it. They're building a cryptographic type currency. This is a new, innovative technology, but just because these central banks imitate it doesn't mean they're going to be as successful as the regular decentralized cryptocurrencies, because people aren't stupid. People know that this new centralized imitation of the technology is just the same thing as fiat. They're not going to have an upper limit on how many coins they can produce. They're going to produce as many as they want. Now, as a cryptocurrency enthusiast, which is what I am, the first thing I look at if I'm going to buy a coin is, what is the hard limit? I want to know that first. Before anything else, I want to know, what's the hard limit? And there's another thing to consider. For Bitcoin to just up and die, like he says, just disappear, you would need to have something similar to when the automobile was invented. And you got all these small car companies coming out building automobiles. I'm telling you, there's a slew of them. A lot of them disappeared. There's Stanley steamers. Cars actually ran on steam. Can you imagine a car that has a firebox? And you put a log in it to run it? I'm going to tell you guys an interesting story. During the Second World War, they couldn't get gasoline for their cars. And did you know that your car you have in the driveway, it runs on gasoline? Did you know it'll run on wood? Bet you guys didn't know that. You can quite literally take a little trailer, put it on the back on a trailer hitch on your car, and you can create a little wood burner on it. And as wood burns, a gas comes off of it. That gas is flammable. Very flammable, just like gasoline. And you can actually duct that gas up through a hose to the carburation system on your car, the intake manifold. And your car will actually run on that smoke, that unburnt smoke. It's like really thick. Have you ever seen when the smoke gets really thick and it hasn't been burnt really good? Firefighters have a lot of problem with this. They call it a flashback, or I think that's what they call it. Anyway, what'll happen is inside a house will get full of that smoke that's not been burnt. It's full of fuel, basically. The smoke is, and all of a sudden it'll flash, and it'll all ignite suddenly. And a lot of firefighters have been caught in that. But that's the kind of smoke that a burner would produce, and you can run that up to your engine. Your engine will actually run on it. And there was a guy who quite literally drove across America on wood. But during the Second World War, they didn't have gasoline available, so an awful lot of people converted their cars and trucks over so that they would run on wood. But back to what we were talking about. There's a lot of car companies sprung up with different ideas, different models, different types of cars. And they disappeared, and what grew up from that was the big automakers of America. The Fords, the Chevys, GMs, and the Dodges sprung up from that. It's working the same way in the cryptocurrency space, We have Bitcoin. It's like the Ford of automobiles. But the point I want to make is, we didn't get these automobiles, and all these new automobile manufacturing companies come in to take advantage of the new technology. We didn't all of a sudden say, okay, we're just going to scrap all these cars we're making and all of this new technology, and we're going to go back to horse and buggies. That's what would have to happen with this new technology of cryptocurrency. We'd have to say, well, we're just going to forget about the new technology. We're going to forget how good it is and how nice it works and everything. And we're going to go back to the way it was before cryptocurrencies were invented. That's what you would need to do in order for Bitcoin to slowly come to what he says, die a grinding death. That's what would have to happen. We'd have to abandon the technology altogether. Because as long as we stick with this technology and continue to use it, my opinion is Bitcoin will continue to grow. But even if it didn't grow, even if we decided not to use the technology, still there would be an undercurrent within the financial system that would use Bitcoin in trading, so Bitcoin would never completely really die. And that would be a best case scenario for him, for his thing to come true, is if all the governments were to say, okay, we're going to ban Bitcoin, all of them work together, like when have the governments ever worked together on anything, and then people to completely stop using it. Ain't gonna happen. I don't see it happening. Do you guys see it happening? So this whole thing about Bitcoin completely dying and disappearing, I think now, in my mind, this is just a fear-mongering tactic to get people to sell out. And, I made that mistake. I don't know why. I made that mistake a few years ago. Never make that mistake again. Now I am such a die-hard hodler. I haven't got much Bitcoin, but what I got, ain't nobody going to get it until it's like where I want to sell it. And that's a long ways up there. I mean, that I might be hanging on to it for a few years for it to get to the price I want to sell it at. But I ain't gonna part with it. I wouldn't part with it. I'd rather part with my shorts than part with that. So I mean, this stuff that he's talking about. Now we got another opinion here. Bitcoin strengthening, fundamental trends. The fundamentals would beg to differ from the other guy's opinion, he says. Spencer Bogart, a partner of top industry venture capital firm Blockchain Capital, took to Bloomberg on Monday to discuss reasons why Bitcoin's long-term bull trend of strong adoption remains intact. Now, I believe this is more of the truth of what's going on. One of Bogart's first points conveyed to the Bloomberg audience is that Bitcoin remains a very useful network from a transactional standpoint, processing $1 billion to $3 billion worth of transactions daily, which is a far cry from when cryptocurrency was deemed a joke just a few years ago. So it's doing $1 billion to $3 billion worth of transactions a day. I remember a few years ago, back when it was more or less a joke. I remember when the only people that had Bitcoin were these places, like, you ever seen these comic book convention kind of places where they sell Magic the Gathering cards, and they sit around and they do cosplay and stuff like that. And they're geeks. They're basically geeks. I remember a few years back, when they all used to brag about their system, their computer that they build. They build their own computers, and mine's stronger than yours. And I got a 400 megahertz Pentium 2 or whatever, and I build it and I put it together with IBM parts and all this stuff, and they showed and it's got a 400 watt power supply, and I got a such and such graphic cards, a NetVidya graphic card I put in and they're all bragging about how powerful their system is, and they're building new systems every year. These kind of guys were in Bitcoin, and they were the only ones that traded it back and forth between themselves, and their Bitcoins were like $10 or $5 or $3 or whatever a piece, and you couldn't spend them anywhere. That's why the guy thought it was really great that he spent 7,000 of them for a pizza back then. Now look how far it's come. Well, it would have to go lower. Even if it went back to that standard of when it was sold for a pizza, it still wouldn't be dead. It wasn't dead then. Back when he paid 7,000 Bitcoins for a pizza, Bitcoin wasn't dead. It was alive and well, right? It would have to die. It would have to go to where you couldn't even buy a pizza for 7,000 Bitcoins. Do you really believe that's ever going to happen? Or we're ever going to see that happen? Now that we got a coin that's processing between $1 and $3 billion worth of transactions a day and is actually growing? And is worth like $7,000 a coin? Which way do you think? Do you really believe it's going to die? I think it would be miraculous if it died. I think it would be miraculous for the whole world, because I think ultimately this is going to lead to an end that's not nice. I think it would be a wonderful thing if we could get rid of this technology. If Bitcoin was actually die and go, and all of the cryptocurrencies would die and go, and we wouldn't even know how it worked anymore. And we could get rid of the technology. That would be a wonderful thing for humanity. Because this thing is going to continue to grow slowly until all of a sudden it hits a point in the future. Might be 2, 3, I don't know how far in the future, but it's going to be a ways away. It's going to hit a point where it's going up in value, and the dollar and the fiat currencies are going down in value so fast that it becomes obvious to everyone in the world, and they're all going to hop on board cryptocurrency. They're going to be buying all the gold and silver up. It's going to be all gone. And they're going to hop on board cryptocurrency. And this is going to cause a disruption within the financial system that could be absolutely devastating for everything. That's what I see in the future. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.